Hi Rebels, Emily here. I hope that you have had an awesome Christmas, New Year's, holiday season. On the day that I'm filming this, we are on day 37 of January. So we're in that stretch where January just feels like it's going on for forever, but we're almost into February, and by the time you're watching this, it will be February. So great job, you made it. In case you missed it, I made a little 2025 clean fantasy reading list for this year. I don't have a ton of books on that list, but I love to read, but I'm not a super fast, prolific reader. I'm very much a mood reader, so I read a lot of different books and a lot of different genres at the same time, and I pick up whichever one I'm in the mood for. So that list isn't super long, but if you're looking for a good, clean fantasy book to read, and if you're interested in where I'm at with my own book that I'm working on and whether I should split it into two, please stick around as I give you my latest update. Okay, so I have been working on The Crimson Witch for a long time. It's been years, and I don't even really want to go back and try to figure out when I officially started working on this book because it has been so long. In case you're new here, The Crimson Witch is book number 4 in my Camilla Crim series, which is a young adult fantasy series. And I'm really tempted to feel guilty about how long I've been working on this book. I actually went through the same thing back when I was working on book number 2 in the series. The plot for that book was so complicated and so muddled, and I was much less of an experienced writer at that time. This was back in I want to say 2017. I was like a less experienced writer at that time, and the plot was just really complex for me, and it took me, I think, several years to write the Bear Gap Rebels, and I felt super guilty at that time. I was constantly apologizing to my readers, to you guys, and just posting things on, hey, I'm working on it, I'm doing it, don't lose hope in me, I promise it's coming. But I had someone very near and dear to me at that time when I was really struggling with that come to me and just say something along the lines of, hey, you're working on it, you're working hard, it's just going to take the amount of time that it's going to take. And I've had to sort of come to peace with that on The Crimson Witch. And I will say that I think I've probably been working on The Crimson Witch longer than I've been working on the Bear Gap Rebels, but I think that's for good reason, and I'm going to get into that. I certainly still do have some guilt around how long it's taking me to finish The Crimson Witch. But again, the plot of this book is very complicated. It's very in-depth. I'm trying to take this story very far in this book, and I'm just simply not willing to put out a piece of work that I'm not proud of and not happy with. Every book I've written has been longer, harder, and more complex than the book before it, which is kind of what brings me to my dilemma right now. So you might have noticed in the title of this video, I posed the question of, should I split my book into 2? Back when I really started to hit the draft, this current draft I'm on for The Crimson Witch, when I really started to work hard at it, I created a word count chain. This is something I had been wanting to do ever since I really started writing, and I just never did it. So I was really excited. I was like, I'm gonna actually do a word count chain. Why is that phrase hard to say? Word count chain. I'll show a picture of what I'm talking about because I probably am sounding really confusing. This is what I'm talking about over here. So each of those links represents 1,000 words, and for this book I did 120 links, which would be 120,000 words. That's longer than any book I've written. So just for reference, this is the longest book I've written so far, The Dark Ruler. This is the last book I wrote. You can look at the spine. You can see how thick it is. This is still under 120,000. Don't quote me. I think it's around 120,000, but it's it's either at 120 or it's under. I'm pretty sure it's just under, but just that for comparison, okay? So I thought that by making this goal of 120,000 words for the Crimson Witch, like I thought I was set. I thought I would have, that would give me plenty of leeway. Even if I did go a little over that, I was okay with it. I just thought that 120,000 would get me there. It would, you know, get me to the end of the book, essentially. Well, as of today, I just checked, as of today, this current draft of the Crimson Witch that I'm working on is around 107,000 words. So I've already crested that 100,000 word mark, which is great. Like, I'm very happy with that. But the kicker is I'm maybe just over halfway through the book. I'm about halfway through Act 2. Now, typically my Act 3 is pretty short. I do tend to wrap things up pretty quickly in Act 3, and this Act 3 I don't expect to be very long. But regardless, even if I was 3/4 of the way through this book at this point, it would still be quite long. It would be very long, and I fear that it would be too convoluted. Is it too many twists and turns for this genre in particular? I'm really trying to accomplish a lot in this book. When I think about where Camilla starts in this book and where I want her to end up, it's a lot. So recently I just had that thought. It just kind of hit me one day, and I was like, when I first realized how long this book was getting, it just kind of hit me, and I was like, should I split this book into 2? So what I don't mean is I don't mean I would have like a Crimson Witch Part 1 and a Crimson Witch Part 2. This isn't like what they did with Breaking Dawn Part 1 and Part 2, or what was Deathly Hallows Part 1 and Part 2. Not like that. I just mean I would have the Crimson Witch, and then there would be another book that would come after it. So I do already have general plots for 2 more books after this book. So I'm wondering really if I need an additional book in between there. Does that make sense? So Crimson Witch, 2 more books in the series, and maybe there would be an additional one in between there. If I did split this book, split the draft that I have now, and had sort of the first half of the draft be the Crimson Witch and then have the second half be an additional book, it would take some finagling of the plot. I would need to work a few things around, and unfortunately I'd have to give up the ending that I wanted to have for the Crimson Witch, and I would have to push that off basically to the next book. But the positive of it would be that the Crimson Witch is essentially done. You know, it's already written, it's well drafted. I've already been through multiple revisions of the first half of the book. So the good news is that if I did this, it would mean that I would probably be able to publish the Crimson Witch like pretty soon. So it's a lot to consider. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. I know it's hard to render an opinion when you don't know the full plot of the Crimson Witch and you're just trusting me to draft this story, but let me know your thoughts. I always appreciate what you guys have to say, what my readers have to say, and I'm just thinking, you know, you've been waiting so long for this book. Maybe it's just time to split this puppy in half and give you the first half now. But let me know your thoughts. Do we really want a book that is over 200,000 words? That's double this. Double that. Anyways, thanks for watching. Please subscribe, and if you're brand new to the Camilla Crim series, there's a link in the description down below that will give you a free ebook copy of the first book in this series. So if you haven't read that yet, please go check that out, and I appreciate you watching. Bye.